G'day everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome to the next part of the Schiltron, the Scots Schiltron, the Scottish Schiltron for the 100 Years' War, consisting of the wonderful castings from Medbury Miniatures, made in Australia, or printed on your 3D printer, wherever you may be found in the world. But these are the metal castings that are available from the Australian shop. Let me get down. I'm just holding this up. So, yeah. You remember that first batch. Oh, I'm trying to get that about right. There we go. So the first batch appeared a couple of videos ago, along with some levy sort of bowmen or archers. Yeah, so this time I did 12 in total of the pikemen or Schiltron, Scots Schiltron, and some of these poses probably appeared in the last lot, but there's another of them that probably didn't as well. So you've got, as before, the mixture of gear that in terms of what they're wearing. They're all armed very similarly, obviously with the pikes. Most of them have got a sword. Some of them have axes, and sort of a variety of styles of clothing. You've got some of them with padded jacks. Like there's a number of them here. A couple there, and then with various parts of chain mail and different helms. This one has some sort of padded jack underneath. You can see it on his leggings. Sorry, forgetful that my finger's taken everything out of focus. Yeah, but as always, there'll be more photos at the end. I've gone for a combination of a couple of different blues and mixed in some different complementaries and neutrals to go with them. Yeah, all the blues I used are Reaper paints, some of which are discontinued, unfortunately, I think now, from the old HD range. So like solid blue and dragon blue from the old HD range, high density. And then so the way I done them is, let me see, how have I got them grouped here? Okay, so these guys in the front I think I did with the a blue triad from Reaper. This one starting with Brion blue, Templar blue, and Ashen blue. So that's these blue livery guys in the front, and they I complemented that with a brown triad. Now the thing with Reaper paints is one of the downsides is that their labels tend to have terrible problem with fading away and becoming illegible, and you have to write over them or stick something over them. But I think it went, yeah, these guys have got like a brown, I think it went like this, yeah, 44, 45, 46. Okay, so muddy soil, basic dirt, brown sand. Now these should be available still from Reaper. So that's how we got the keeps grabbing the pike, like the browns on this chap's hood here. You can see that, if it'll focus. There we are. And then they've got a neutral greeny grey. You can see it on some of the leggings and some of the undershirts. Yeah, that was Vallejo. I'm just trying to find it. I think it was Vallejo green grey. Oh yeah, there it is. Yeah, that was yeah. There's a couple of paints Vallejo make called green grey and grey green. It's a bit confusing, but this was the 886. Yeah, so that's that one. And what about now the back row? Excuse fingers. It'll all be made clearer in the photos at the end, I hope. Hoping they come out. Bit tricky working with all these spiky pikeys. So, oh yeah, those who regularly watch the channel know I was having some issues with my varnish last time, which, you know, didn't work out too bad for the horses, the matte varnish from Winsor & Newton. I wasn't super chuffed about its slight sheen on the figures themselves. So, so I lashed out, and I didn't lash out, but I restocked. It's actually a bigger bottle. They must have been out of the 60 mils. So I got, that won't even fit in the shot. Well, this is the one I usually have. That's this one here. This is the 60 mil. This is the 100 mil, I think. Should last me a while, I hope. Although I use a lot of it. You can see how much bigger it is. But I've been recommending this for a couple of years now, and still really pleased with it. Now that they've got the formula spot on, and yeah, ultra matte. Really, really happy with it. It delivers. And actually, a tip worth trying is with the ultra matte, because it's very thin as well. Is you can actually use it as not just as a varnish, but as a medium for mixing with other things. I like it for when I'm doing like a wash or a glaze with something that's quite glossy, like an ink. Some inks are quite matte. Other inks, like I've got some Scale 75 inks here that are quite glossy. The one I use for wood and leather, and there's a black one and stuff. But what you can do is you can just mix some drops of this ultra matte in with it before you apply it, and it still does its thing, but it's totally pre-matted. So otherwise sometimes I find what happens is those glossy inks, they sometimes need almost a couple of coats of the matte varnish afterwards to bring them back down again. And I use inks for just particular jobs. So I use them. All these guys have got all their shoes I do with an ink, but it's actually an artist's ink. It's one of the De La Rowney ones. I think it's an umber one, umber ink. Yeah, and it's basically a one and done, and it's quite matte already. I think. I'm trying to think, because I also went over it with a little bit of wash as well. But yeah, it's really good as a one and done, because it stains the leather of the shoe really nicely and goes really well into the creases. So it basically acts like a quick gen Vallejo Express type paint, those sorts of things. So it's really good for that. And I use the inks over other colors for wood and for leather. Like I use a sort of like a deserty yellow or a tanned yellow as a base for leather, and then I go over it with the chestnut ink, I think, Intense, the chestnut ink from Scale 75. And I do a similar thing with wood. I put down either like a new wood from Panzer Aces Vallejo or a colour called Iroko from Scale 75, and then I stain it with the wood ink that Scale 75 makes, and it gives it a really cool finish. It looks really good, like to me anyway. It works really well. So it's not exactly a one and done because you do have to put a base color underneath, but it is a one and done with the shoes with the other ink. So yeah, I make some use of inks, and sometimes, you know, I'll use, on rare occasions, I'll use the express paints as well. I've got several colors of those. I'll use those as a one and done, but generally the way I tend to use them, if I use them, is as a base color, which then gets washed and worked back into. It's just to establish the basic color. But the majority of these figures were done the old-fashioned way, with base color, wash, and then back with base and highlighting up. And I've been experimenting with my washes, my homemade washes that I showed you in a previous video that I've been making a brew, and I, in the lid of an old jar, I was doing a mix, you know, a couple of drops of them already brown with the darker bluey green one, and to get it just the right sort of mix, and then add some of that express medium to it, and it just goes on really well. I was really pleased with how it worked, you know, seeing as I'd run out of my old sewer wash from Secret Weapon that I'd been using for years and years and years. So I had to concoct some home brews, and I'm really pleased with how they're working, actually. So, you know, worth experimenting if you've got the stuff and some old bottles and things and make up your own washes. Okay, so what else can I tell you about these? Now, these chaps were done with a different blue. You've got some sort of liveried guys. I think I had one of these in the previous batch of these with just the split white and blue. We've got 3 of those that were they were easy to do that way. The other guys aren't dressed probably appropriately for that. But I thought that looked kind of cool and tied them together. So the blues used for these to build up from, I had these are old Reaper HD, so it was solid blue as a base, and then I mix in Dragon Blue, which is much brighter, but I do like a halfway point between the two. So it's this, wash, back with this, and then some of this and some of this combined to get a mid-tone, and then just Dragon Blue to finish off the blues on here. So I'd say the blues over the back are sort of a softer grayer blue. These blues at the front there in their final highlights are more of a intense sort of blue. And they're complementaries with, let me see if I can point them out. They got some sort of, yeah, I like this hood, some leggings down there, sleeve up here of a shirt. That color I decided to use as a complement to the blue, and actually I was looking on an app I have that I rarely use, but I thought been having a play with it again. It's a painting app on my phone called Paint Rack, and you can log on there all the colors you own, as well as it has lists of lots and lots of different manufacturers' ranges of paints. So if you want to compare and find close matches to ones you've already got, or you want to try something else, it's a handy way to do that. But it's also a handy way to log on all the paints you actually do own, which in my case there's quite a few. Surprisingly, the things it comes up with for complementary colors or matches or whatever can be surprising. I'm not sure how accurate they are sometimes. I don't know, but this kind of worked out in the end. So it actually calls itself, this HG thing here, calls itself Crimson Red, but as a base for that sort of what became a pinkish reddish brown color. It says crimson red, but it's actually really quite reddish brown, really, I would say. But and then I built that up again. I did the same technique where I mixed these two together to get a half tone. This is HD sunburnt flash, and then finish with highlighting with just that. So there we go. Now the whites, this time I paint with a light grey, sort of greeny grey undercoat anyway, so I went over that with a wash. And then for my whites this time, instead of going for a cooler greyer, bluish grey white, I went with, let me see, yeah, this combo. So stone grey from, see, we've got the old Flames of War labels back when they used to do them. This is Vallejo paint, basically, stone grey 884, stone grey, and then deck tan. Oh yeah, there's a wash in between here, so you go back to this again, and then off-white for the highlights. And that was how we got these whites. So it's sort of, I like it. It's not a bluey grey, or it's not too harsh. It's kind of a soft one. I'm pleased with that, how that turned out as a little triad. Yeah. Other colours in there, we've got sort of khaki, a light khaki colour on the padded jacks. Yeah, bits of leather and wood and those sorts of things. Yeah, so I'm happy with how they turned out. Really, yeah, really am happy. Hopefully Mark will like these as well. They should fit in really nice with the other guys, with the blue, bit of blue, bit of white, and neutrals. Oh yeah, the neutral on these guys was literally AK Interactive. I can see it particularly well on this guy on the end here, on his tunic. That's neutral grey, and the chap next to him's got it on his leggings. That isn't a colour called neutral grey. So I believe the way I did that was, yeah, neutral grey, AK 3rd Gen, and then wash, and then back with neutral grey, and highlight with pale grey for the final highlights. That's AK 3rd Gen as well. I really like the AK 3rd Gen paints. I think they're a really good option. I really do, because I've had problems with other ranges with lids splitting and paints separating, and some ranges of paints I just won't buy because I think they cost too much for what they are, compared to I can buy AK Interactive 3rd Gen paints for a lower price point and the quality is just as good. So, you know, I've arrived at this point, and it may change in the future. And the trouble is, manufacturers change what they do. I mean, I've been painting for a long time and tried a lot of stuff, you know, Reaper Scale 75, Vallejo, P3, AK, yeah, a lot of stuff. But yeah, I'm really happy with AK 3rd Gen now they've come to that, and I'm actually looking forward to maybe seeing if I can find an excuse to buy some of their new Quick Gen paints as well. I've got a few of the Vallejo Express ones, but I don't like the lids. They are leaky and sticky. I do not like the design, and I think those sorts of things can matter over time. People who are veterans of using GW paints know how problematic the lids are, but other paint ranges have lid issues as well, leaky lids and lids that with the plastic splits. Not good. So you go for what's a good price and what works for you consistently straight out of the bottle, doesn't have lots of separating and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, This has been a longer video because I just wanted to talk about paints a bit and tell you what I've been using. Yeah. Anyway, there's a few hints and tips about how I do things. In between doing this, I finished a couple of trolls I'd had sitting around in a box for ages. Not my greatest paint jobs ever, but I was pretty pleased with them. I won't put them on this video, but maybe down the track again. I was thinking maybe to get I still kept my collection of dwarves out in a drawer in the garage, and I had a bit of a look at them the other day, and I thought, whoa, they do look cool, don't they? I should get them out and do a bit of a showcase again, perhaps. All right, guys. Thanks for watching this video, and thank you for those who stuck with my longer video and talk. Hope you found it informative. Please leave any comments down below. Remember to check out Medbury miniatures. They're very cool. I'm very pleased with them. I'd like to get some more. Tempted to get some dwarves. Do some really nice Middle Earth stuff. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.